project we are recognising today is the Public Sector Linkage Project, enhancing effectiveness, accountability and transparency in government through eGovernment capacity building. It was sponsored by AusAid from 2010 to 2012 and followed an initial AusAid-sponsored project in 2008, and I'd like to also recognise that it grew out of the PhD work of Dr. Ahmed Imran here, whose passion for this project has really been its guiding inspiration. The project has several signs of success, and we believe it's likely to have a lasting impact on e-government in Bangladesh and perhaps in other countries through the training programs that have been introduced at the Bangladesh Public Administration Training Centre and the textbook that was produced. And so the project's success has only been possible because of many organisations and individuals who've contributed additional funding, materials and effort to the project. So we're holding this project today in part to recognise the efforts of these people and to thank them.
I'm not sure the completion is the right word here because we already have a planning for third phase underway with a strong interest from counterpart agencies and not only Bangladesh, from Philippines and Indonesia. Feelings of accomplishment is always good, and it becomes more special when you're able to deliver something which is more useful and make a real impact. So there are many stories, reflections and experiences which is hard to actually articulate and deliver and share it with you within 10 minutes. So the journey started about a decade back with personal experience, PhD research, and you know the context of LDCs strangling between the paper-based business process. In most of the LDCs, public sector is the largest organization to use computers, and they are actually in a position to exert maximum influence through their policies and regulations to other sectors. So we might argue that ICT adoption in public sector can pave a way for greater diffusion of ICT in other sectors like in the IT industry, private sectors, and propagation of e-commerce. We talk about good governance and where e-government or public sector ICT could use as an effective tool to bring good governance, public sector efficiency, addressing deep-rooted problems like transparency, corruptions, and so on. But if you look at the broad picture of the ICT4D initiatives by different organizations, donor agencies, World Bank, UN, it's like random rocks being thrown into a pool, and there was not lasting effect of those once the project is over. One of the reasons is that existing theories that are mostly developed in developed countries are not able to tackle the problems in the developing countries. And the models and best practices emulated by different aid agencies are not actually contextualized well within the LDC context. One of the triggers from the project came from this finding. It's just a snapshot which showed that it's not the infrastructure which used to be known as the major barrier, socioeconomic condition. It's rather the knowledge of the decision maker which is the major barrier, followed by other intangible factors like attitude, mindset, political will, and planning and strategy, and so on. And this lack of knowledge means more of understanding the strategic value and ICT. There had been a very sharp technocentric view about ICT amongst the innovators and as well as the implementers. Later on, we mapped all these barriers into a process model where it shows that knowledge is the change lever to address all other barriers, where it can really unlock the jam for effective ICT adoption in the process in the developing country context. And one of the questions that came up always from different people, that why top-down approach, why empowering, educating decision makers are so important. I'm sure those of you have exposure to the Hofstede's theory or Rogers' theory, you know how important the opinion leader in those contexts. So, for example, in Bangladesh, through this activity, we empower and educate 1 million people. There are 162 million people in Bangladesh. So if we empower 1 million people, that 1 million actually cannot make much impact to the rest of the 162 million. But if you pick up 500 figureheads or 200 decision makers, opinion leaders, then their one decision can actually make impact to the 162 million. So finally, the birth of a new book, and this book is actually work of 4 years of rigorous work, and we really didn't anticipate it will take so much of effort at the end. But we kept no stone unturned to make it an useful one, not only for Bangladesh, for all the developing countries. So many well-wishers from Samoa to Africa we had been pursuing for case studies, and they were happy to share their case studies and all. Some of the major characteristics, I'm not going again delivering on this because you have already a handout, details about the book, synopsis is given. The project finished on 30th June with the launching of the book in Dhaka. Nothing comes without a challenge. So these are the list of the challenges. One of the important one was the maintaining the interest of participants. They were mid-level and quite senior, and it was very satisfying to see their interest and eagerness about this course. And BPATC is a residential academy, so we found students working late night doing the project work, which was very unusual in BPATC. A small analogy, this is springtime, all of you like plantation. So we didn't actually implement a project. There are hundreds of eGovernment projects. But what we did actually, we prepared the ground, which is more important for any plantation to be successful in future.
I get the great good fortune of being able to tell you all the successes that we've had and to do a little bit of reflection. It's important that one considers where we went to. You know, doing all this work, it was hard work, it took a long time, but we have to draw from that as well. So we're just going to very quickly touch on what we thought about the project overall and some lessons learned. Broken into sort of 3 chunks here. First part is to do with addressing what we found in the environment. And a substantial bulk of this falls out of Ahmed's research. But what we were able to do was to demonstrate that, having identified that there were knowledge gaps, we were actually able to address them. And we also introduced some new ideas about assessment and curriculum design into BPATC through the way we were developing the course. We were using modern pedagogy that we're used to doing here in Australian universities, and we introduced some of those ideas to BPATC, which had a more training focus in the past, perhaps, which has been, again, welcomed by the trainers there, and we're seeing some of the material that we developed being filtered into other courses as well where it's applicable. So that's a good result. So these are the sorts of things that we come out of the project. We're very pleased about those results. And I can tell you that when I first started working on this project, I couldn't possibly have expected to have made so much difference. It's been really rewarding in that regard. Finally, some lessons I'd like to share with you that we've learned from on reflection. There's one I'm going to mention at the end, it's not on that slide. We believe there are significant outcomes in new knowledge for ICT for D. Might sound a bit arrogant to suggest it, but we've been developing and we are able to research, we were able to support with substantial and well-made research some leading ideas in how to deliver ICT for D interventions. No question in my mind that a substantial lesson that we've learnt is that it's critical to have appropriately educated, enthusiastic and dedicated individuals who come from the country that are receiving the benefit. It's absolutely critical to have the understanding, the insight that the cultural history provides. And the final lesson I wanted to bring up, that's not on the slide here, is to reinforce the idea that working with a good team is a tremendous thing. I've been very lucky to work for the last 3 years, 5 years really. I wasn't directly involved in some of the 2008 stuff, but came on at that time to work with Shirley and in particular Ahmed, and it's been a privilege.
Today we are here celebrating the completion of a very successful project, and I'm very positive that this project is going to have a very far-reaching effect in Bangladesh and elsewhere. It's no doubt a successful intervention which adopted an innovative approach to facilitate e-government adoption based on ground resources, and no doubt a great example how an academic research could be relevant to practice. In the process, a formal education program has been established that is available to all Bangladeshi public servants through institutional training. The project also coincided with Bangladesh government's vision of digitalization, and where this worked as a strong input in realization of the vision. In fact, since 2007, through this program, they were able to penetrate and create awareness amongst the decision makers about the benefit of e-government. The value of this project may not be tangible, but it surely would have an enormous impact in the long run, provided it is properly capitalized and used. Resources are there, and I'm sure not only BPATC, but other organizations, including private sectors, will reap the benefit for many years to come. And a point I think I should mention, which when I talk to the Bangladesh community, I always make it a point to convey, is the knowledge remittance. The knowledge that you acquire as a non-resident Bangladeshi, I always recommend that you have to remit it back to Bangladesh for the betterment of the people and the country. And this is what exactly has happened. Gentleman sitting here, Dr. Ahmed Imran, who is from Bangladesh, and he and his team has transferred this knowledge that they have acquired here over a period of time through research and study, which is going to benefit Bangladesh at large. I, on behalf of Bangladesh government, would profusely thank Australian National University and AUSID for support in this project, and of course, the team led by Professor Shirley Greger, Dr. Imran, and Dr. Turner, and everyone involved who helped materializing this wonderful contribution to Bangladesh and other LDCs. Thank you, gentlemen.
So on behalf of the Dean of the College, I would like to congratulate Ahmed, Shirley and Tim on the completion of this Public Sector Linkage Project and on today's launch of the book. The book, eGovernment for Management Developing Countries, I hope people recognise this is, as academic books goes, this is one of the more valuable ones. You can go and look at the bookstore. I like this one compared to some of those. Okay. I mean, as pointed out by the High Commissioner, through the publication of this book, the project will continue to share knowledge and help foster understanding of the resources needed to facilitate effective use of ICT in developing countries. I mean, I think that's a very valuable ambition and a very valuable achievement. The project leaders, Professor Shirley Greger and Dr. Ahmed Imran, received the ANU's Vice Chancellor's Award in 2010 for their contributions to community outreach. I certainly hope the academics at the other universities are similarly being rewarded, and also our government officials. If you want a letter from the ANU saying how grateful we are, I'm happy to provide that. I regard this as a success. I hope everyone's enjoyed and learnt on both sides. We had a list of what's been learnt. What they didn't put up, I wish they had, is what participants learnt, because I know our participants learnt things as well. The knowledge went in both directions. That brings today's officials proceedings to an end. I invite you to join Shirley, Ahmed and Tim to celebrate the success and to have some refreshments. Thank you again for coming to the ANU, and feel free to think about all the next things to be done. Thank you very much.